Emily Carter sat at the corner of her small New York apartment, fingers dancing nervously across her laptop keyboard. Her resume was polished, her cover letter sincere. Each word reflected her journey: honors in computer science, freelance work, volunteering experience, but hidden between the lines was a truth no recruiter could ignore: she was in a wheelchair. She'd applied to over 40 companies in the last 2 months. Each rejection email felt like a quiet blow to her confidence. Still, she persisted. Her brother David often reminded her, "You're not just good for someone in a wheelchair, Emily, you're just good. Period." Today, she stared at the job listing for Lawson Tech, one of the top software companies in the country. She hesitated. Would they even look past her disability? But then she remembered the nights she stayed up coding with swollen fingers, the therapy sessions, the day she rolled across the stage to accept her diploma. With a deep breath, she clicked submit. 3 days later, her phone buzzed. "Hello, is this Emily Carter? This is Sarah from Lawson Tech. We'd like to invite you for an interview this Friday." Her eyes widened. Her voice shook. "Yes. Yes, thank you." David burst into the room when he heard her shout. She mouthed, "Lawson Tech." He grabbed her hands. "See? I told you. This is your shot." That night, Emily practiced answering mock interview questions while David quizzed her. They laughed, argued, revised. For a moment, she forgot she was in a wheelchair. She was just Emily, a brilliant young woman preparing to chase her dream. Friday morning came. Emily wore her favorite navy blazer, her resume neatly clipped to a folder. As her wheelchair moved smoothly along the shiny tiles of Lawson Tech's massive lobby, a few eyes turned. Whispers followed. A group of interns in the corner nudged each other. One of them laughed softly and said, "Guess HR is ticking diversity boxes now." Emily heard it. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't stop. At the reception desk, she smiled politely. "Hi, I'm here for the software engineering interview." The receptionist, taken aback for a moment, forced a smile. "Of course. The waiting area is just over there." She rolled herself toward the interview room, holding her head high. The waiting area was filled with smartly dressed applicants, all nervously glancing at their notes or phones. As Emily entered, some turned and did a double take. Jacob Miller, a senior hiring manager, stepped out of a door to check the list of names. His eyes landed on Emily. His smirk was quick and ugly. He whispered to the colleague beside him, "She's here for engineering." "In that? Is this a joke?" Emily heard it. She gripped her folder tightly, her heart pounding, but she didn't flinch. On the opposite chair sat Sarah Bennett, a young HR intern, who looked visibly uncomfortable at Jacob's remark. Their eyes met, and Sarah gave Emily a warm smile. It gave Emily a flicker of strength. While waiting, Emily's mind drifted to that day. The accident. A drunk driver ran a red light. Her mother died on the spot. Emily survived, but her spinal cord was damaged. The months that followed were a blur of hospitals, pain, and silence. The doctors told her walking might never happen again. She remembered screaming at the ceiling, punching her pillow, telling God it wasn't fair. But David never left her side. Neither did her mother's voice in her head, "Emily, life doesn't stop because you fall. It waits for you to stand again." She poured her grief into code. Her laptop became her second wheelchair, her freedom. She vowed she'd rise again. In every way possible. "Emily Carter," the receptionist called. She rolled forward, heart racing. Inside, Jacob sat at the head of the table. His tone was cold. "You know this role requires long hours and leadership. Do you think you can manage?" Emily nodded, calmly. "Yes, sir. I believe my portfolio shows I've already been doing that." Jacob's eyes narrowed. He flipped through her resume dismissively. Sarah, seated beside him, gently added, "I really liked the code samples you submitted. Especially the adaptive design project." Jacob interrupted, "Yes, well, it's one thing to code from your couch. This is Lawson Tech." Emily didn't flinch. "Actually, I coded that while in a rehab center, after 6 hours of physical therapy. Commitment isn't new to me." Sarah smiled. Jacob leaned back. "Let's be real here, Emily. What happens if there's an emergency? Or if you're asked to lead a team on site?" Emily's expression didn't change. "I'd lead them better than someone who judges capability by appearance." Jacob scoffed. "You people always pull the inspiration card." Sarah gasped quietly. Emily's face flushed, but not with shame. She leaned forward. "I didn't come here to inspire. I came to contribute. And if that's not what you're looking for, then maybe I don't belong here." There was silence. Even Jacob's mocking smile faltered for a moment. Then came the technical question round. Jacob posed a complex software architecture problem. Without hesitation, Emily asked for a marker. Sarah handed it to her. She rolled up to the whiteboard, explaining each module clearly, confidently, her voice strong. Sarah stared in awe. Even Jacob, who had expected her to freeze, looked surprised. Her answer wasn't just good, it was innovative. When she finished, the room was quiet. Jacob muttered, "Well, that's unexpected." Emily turned around. "That's what people always say, until they look beyond the chair." Jacob asked one final question. "How would you deal with the physical expectations of the job?" Emily smiled. She slowly reached for the arms of her wheelchair and, with effort, pushed herself up. Her legs wobbled, but she stood. Sarah gasped. Even Jacob stood up in shock. "I've been working hard in therapy. I can stand. I can walk a little. But whether I do or not doesn't change what I bring to this company." Her voice didn't shake. "Don't hire me despite the chair. Hire me because I earned it." The room was silent. Jacob had no comeback. Sarah's eyes were filled with tears. "Thank you, Emily. That was powerful." Emily slowly sat back down. Just then, a knock on the door startled them. It was Mr. Lawson, the CEO. He'd been watching through the glass wall. He entered the room and said, "Ms. Carter, that was the most impressive interview I've ever seen." Jacob's mouth dropped. Mr. Lawson turned to Sarah. "Please ensure she receives a formal offer today." He looked at Jacob last. "And we'll talk later about your people judgment skills." An hour later, Emily sat in the HR office, holding her offer letter. Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder. "You earned this, Emily. Not because of sympathy, because of strength." Emily looked at her wheelchair, then at the contract. She didn't need to cry. She'd already done that after every therapy session, every rejection, every night she doubted herself. But this moment? This was peace. 3 months later, Emily rolled into her new office. Photos of her mom and David stood proudly on her desk. Her wheelchair sat beside a standing desk, not as a limitation, but a symbol of her journey. She led a team of 10 engineers now. And Jacob? He was no longer with the company. Sarah walked in with coffee. "Ready for the executive meeting?" Emily smiled. "Always." And with that, she stood, just enough to remind herself. She had never been the weak one. They were just too blind to see her strength.